Ladies, gentlemen, and Haradrim of all ages, what's going on? It's another one of those heavy news moments surrounding Diablo 4, because of course things just like to come in big waves, multiple announcements or releases at the same time, and so of course we're going to talk about recent happenings surrounding the game for the last couple of days, including things like a live game update, patch notes released for the very soon incoming patch 1.2.1, the announcement of a new Campfire chat dev stream happening particularly soon, and some pretty major stuff surrounding that, and then even more as well, so stick around as we break it all down and talk about the results of all the things going on. First up, let's talk about this recent hotfix as something that currently affects the live game. It's not massive at all, just a fix to Lord Zir sometimes not respawning if he killed you at a very specific time while you were fighting him, and then of course various performance and stability improvements. Super tiny hotfix for sure, but always worth keeping up to date on these things, as otherwise you wouldn't know that patch 1.2.1, the next major patch for this game, is hitting this upcoming Tuesday, just in a couple of days, really soon. Yup, surprise! This info was dropped late last night, and it's not overly surprising as they want it to be before BlizzCon happens, which of course makes sense. On top of that, we also of course got the patch notes for this patch, as it's happening quite soon. Before we dive into it properly, let me just say there are absolutely no nerfs in here. Everything has survived this patch, while Lightning Sorcerer is still running around like a madman, and Rogues still have their bugged one-shot interaction, which, if you haven't seen it by the way, takes advantage of Debalt's Will having a stat that says bonus maximum resource, but for some reason this gives Rogues bonus maximum combo points, so they can just stack up the damage of a singular hit to a ridiculous degree. That said, there is still quite a lot going on in this patch, and it's worth staying up to date. First things first, the developers have added a refund all button to the Paragon board. This is really important for making people actually willing to try different builds. It doesn't fix the concept by any means, and we are definitely not in really an acceptable position until we have had some sort of build loadouts added to the game so we can save and swap between different sets, but it is much nicer to have a refund all button on the Paragon board than having to click up to 225 times to reset it at max level, which is just an act of insanity that I cannot believe they made us do before, so yeah, this is a welcome change. Then we also have the addition of a training dummy to the game, which is really cool to me, especially as someone who spends a lot of time theory crafting and testing builds. Now I have an actual consistent place to test both damage and procs, synergies, all those things, all of that without having to worry about enemy variety, or the enemy dying on me, or even my own health. I really just genuinely look forward to my time with the training dummy, so it'll just make a lot of things easier to test out and actually know what will be better, and thus will let us create even more abstractly strong builds by being able to test things in a regulated environment. On top of this, you get some customization, with the ability to choose between one training dummy or a handful of them at the same time, and you can also choose what enemy type they count as far as different abilities and effects, whether you want them to be regular enemies, elites, or bosses. Quite a good start for this mechanic for sure, and I'll be happier to have it around than I was without it. On top of that, they have buffed the rewards for doing blood wells in the Blood Harvest event too, increasing the average amount of blood that they drop for doing them. They changed some tooltips to actually show upgrade effects in the upgrade menu for the vampiric powers, and they changed the way that information about packs is presented as well on this screen. Then we have a miscellaneous change of just smaller obscure circles when giving indirect objectives for Whispers of the Dead. After that, we get into bug fixes, and there are an absolutely ridiculous amount of bug fixes in this patch. I'll have them just sort of slowly scrolling along in the background, but there are a lot of slides here because there was a lot of bugs that they fixed. The majority of them just seem to be fixes to weird obscure interactions that popped up. Hell, there was even just a whole essay of bug fixes to season specific mechanics in general. They really just went to town here on changing things for the better, of course, and that's an important thing to note here because none of these changes, not even one, nerfs anything in any way. It doesn't even fix the most broken, obvious bug in the game, the rogue thing, because, well, a week ago Joe Shelby said that there was no plans to nerf the game for Season 2. They like the way that things have landed, and the thing is, they're sort of walking on a tightrope here. If they nerf something that they shouldn't, they will get a lot of backlash, but I'm worried that that might stop them from nerfing things that they absolutely should, because as funny as the rogue bug is, it really does need to get fixed. It's not, oh hee, we didn't calculate the damage right there. It's literally breaking multiple different aspects of the game to create a situation of power far above what it intended. So I think they might just be playing it extra safe until next week in the passing of BlizzCon, not wanting to change it until after that's happened. On which note, we have a Diablo 4 Campfire chat stream coming up next Saturday during BlizzCon. This will occur at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is a little bit later in the day than they usually do their streams, so work it when that is in your own time zone. And this is going to be a live panel from BlizzCon itself. There are plenty of reasons they could be doing this. Maybe it's just a fun event, you know? but for weeks now, personally, I have been all but certain that one thing is going to happen during BlizzCon, and that is the insane announcement of an expansion for Diablo 4 coming out next year, which is why they have had to work so hard to change the image around and be so careful walking on eggshells until BlizzCon. I think with the rocky start that this game has had, announcing a paid expansion only a few months after the release of the game is going to feel like someone is spitting in our faces, and yet all signs as far as I'm aware are pointing to this happening, including the original plan for the game from Brod Ferguson himself in an interview being annual expansions, which of course includes next year, and well, an unfortunate data mining incident that seems to have happened. This forum user is referencing a Russian YouTube video. Obviously, personally, I don't understand Russian, but from what I gather here, there was a new build version 2.0 on the private servers that went through technical alpha a few weeks ago, and someone was able to data mine it and find out quite a bit of information. Whether it's true or not is of course up for debate. This is a leak, and leaks are leaks. They are unreliable until proven. But I wouldn't be surprised by any of the things they say here. What the supposed data miners found then is that the expansion will be called Lord of Hatred, and the story is obviously leading towards this, but it says that it will be focusing on Mephisto. On top of this, the majority of the DLC will take part in the Kurast region from Diablo 2, which of course does actually make sense with the Mephisto themed expansion thematically if they did choose to do this. On top of this, they mention a new potential class added with the expansion called a Spiritborn, with mention of some kind of spirit magic, also nature magic, and also flight in the descriptions, which is an interesting concept if it is actually a mix of those types of things. Of course, that's a very basic outline. As well, they suggest the addition of a mercenary system to hire NPCs to join your party with customizable equipment and skill trees. This is where I think it gets a bit too much to actually believe. I think that this is just a bit of an overboard mechanic for a Diablo game, but simultaneously, this one's been a bit weird so far, so who knows, it could be true. We also are told that raids are a concept that might be being explored, and while that would fit the sort of MMO type nature of the game, it would feel very odd for Diablo. I can't lie, an experience like that is like 4 or 5 world bosses in a row, but tuned up and for a group is a pretty cool concept, even if it is a 4-man scaled activity, but it's just mainly boss after boss to just give a really solid endgame single target damage activity. It could be very fun if it is something like that. All this said, I think chances are very high that we actually get an announcement of an expansion at BlizzCon. I think that all expectations lead to it being a paid expansion as well, and the vast majority of the community is going to rightfully react that that is absolutely ridiculous given the shitstorm of a start to the game that we had, and there will be some really angry people about this that didn't expect it to happen. All I can say is maybe if they are planning annual expansions, they should consider making this first one free to make up for the start of the game. I don't think they would ever do that. Honestly, the only reason for them to continually update the game is the money of potential expansion releases for them. But I just think if they announce a paid expansion next week, just after they've started to get back the just very slightest bit of goodwill with the community with Season 2, it could be a very poor result for everyone involved. That's all I really want to say about that right now. We will of course talk about any BlizzCon reveals relating to Diablo 4 as they happen as well, anything worth sharing, but for now we have a bit more going on for the meantime, such as the blood drive that has been running in real life in the United States, where you can send in proof to a website and then get progress towards the community completion Diablo cosmetics, and at this moment we are at 53% of the goal, which is real good progress, and I'd say that we are likely to get all these unlocks, which just means that they estimate it correctly, or hey, maybe they actively change the requirement each day just to make it feel like progress is happening correctly. Who knows? I'm not in charge of these things. Then finally today we have one notable announcement, though I do have to imagine it won't apply to anyone watching this video, which is that Diablo 4 is going through a free weekend right now where new players can try the game for free, but you do get capped at level 20. Level 20 is like an hour at most at this stage, maybe 2 or 3 if you're just actually doing the campaign instead of hard leveling, so you will definitely get locked pretty early. But hey, this is nice for people who are considering seeing how the game feels and hadn't picked it up yet themselves. I don't think this is overly substantial considering how much they lock you off early, but hey, it's still worth knowing that this is the thing that is happening right now. And that just about does it for today then, everyone. A nice big chunk of news happening around Diablo 4 in the upcoming week that is looking to actually be quite meaningful, both for the present state of Diablo 4 and quite possibly for its future as well. I hope you've enjoyed this breakdown of what's going on. Let me know your own thoughts on all of this in the comments down below. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.